tea don't stop. She don't miss nothing, got the scoop on lock. Spilling all the tea while it's still too hot. Lakeysha Keysha, queen of the plot. Hit that bell, cause the tea don't stop. She don't miss nothing, got the scoop on lock. Spilling all the tea while it's still too hot. Lakeysha Keysha, queen of the plot. Hit that bell, cause the tea don't stop. She don't miss nothing, got the scoop on lock. Spilling all the tea while it's still too hot. Lakeysha Keysha, queen of the plot. Hit that bell, cause the tea don't stop. Hit that bell, cause the tea don't stop.
Hey guys, I hope everybody is having a fantabulous day. Y'all, we got to get into the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, I don't know if y'all had the opportunity to actually watch this last episode, but it is what I said a few months ago. I told y'all that it was some stuff going on between Shamea and Porsha, and now we are seeing it play out on our screen. And I can say, seeing those two sit down and just seeing the way Porsha responded, I'm not understanding what's going on. And Porsha seems so hurt to the point that she did not, seems like she just wasn't able to communicate. And I just wonder what that is, because even if it was a situation where, Porsha wasn't expecting it, why is it that she feels so hurt when somebody else, they express some issues that they may have with regards to somebody that's supposed to be their friend?
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
And like I said, y'all, it was really hard to watch because just from, seeing Porsha and her reaction, she was so hurt to the point that I was just like, what is happening here? Porsha was extremely hurt, to the point that I just can't even describe it. And I can't understand what was mentally going on with her. To at one point, she told Shamea just to stop. So I don't know. Obviously, the show is highly edited, so we don't know, what part is actually missing. But just judging from, the way Porsha was acting, it just seemed like I wanted to know, like, okay, what did I miss here? Because Porsha seems extremely hurt. Now, is, Shamea being performative? Is this for the cameras? I don't know. But why does Porsha seem like, she just been dogged out? Like, I feel like it's something that we're missing here. And I'm also a little bit confused because if you guys watch my last video, Porsha put this post up a few days before the episode aired. And I'm very confused because Porsha's post said, I'ma just say this. I'm watching a new episode, and she said at Shamea Morton. Now, don't take it there. Don't imply SHIT about Diane Williams. I've been keeping it cute, quiet, and you can do and say what you want in me. I guess you said about me. But hear me when I say wrong road, talking about, well, your mom thought my mom was a friend. knowing goddamn well what she did to my mom was highly egregious. Don't do it. Keep playing victim in that BS. Don't F with my mom. Now, I thought that I had totally missed something with this episode, and I frankly thought that Shamea was going to say something. But the only thing she said was their parents used to be friends, but she didn't really imply anything too crazy. So Porsha put up this post. What it really did is make people want to go back and figure out, like, what is Porsha talking about? Because Porsha said, talking about, well, your mom thought my mom was a friend. I mean, I can see, a little bit, but it almost make you wonder, like, what happened between those two? Because for Porsha to put up that post, it honestly made me want to go back and look and say, hey, what's going on? Like, what exactly, did I miss here? Because I feel like I missed something. Well, y'all, let's get into the episode and kind of have some reactions as far as to what we saw. Because like I said, as much as I want to just drag Porsha, I feel like there's something else going on. And I don't know if I want to say it's, has anything to do with her marriage, because I mean, I know that is what she's insinuating, but in fact, you filed for divorce. So I would have thought that, obviously going into it, you would have known that, I mean, it's going to be some kind of repercussion with regards to you going to, through a divorce. So I'm not sure. Maybe is it that she's just, unsure about the situation with regards to filming in the house. I don't think she understood the ramification of that. But one of the things that Shamea said, which I really can agree on, and that's, me not knowing obviously what is actually happening behind the scenes, is Shamea didn't like the situation where Porsha and her mom filmed, and Porsha's mom called Shamea a dog. In fact, Shamea said, hey, I had been knowing Porsha since middle school, which is a little bit earlier than what her mom said. And frankly, frankly, Porsha's mother kind of indicated as if Shamea was just a regular schmegular girl and not somebody that Porsha was really close to. So
she was just talking about me the whole time. And I was just there like, this is not fun. Like, I don't want to hear about hating women or whatever.
Why would she want to tell you everything that somebody's saying something that's negative and she's trying to make you feel better? How does that go together? I know you don't want to hear you and Shamea have been friends since y'all was in high school, but you got to watch the dog that brings the bone.
American side,
Now, if y'all remember on this episode, Shamea didn't like that because she was like, wait a minute. She referred to Porsha's mother as Aunt Diane. So, the fact that it seems as if Shamea has this respect for Porsha's mother, from what I'm watching, I don't think that Porsha's mom has the same or similar respect for Shamea. So it almost leads you to believe that Shamea has this, friendship in her brain that's really non-existent, if you ask me, because for you to refer to Porsha's mother as aunt and for her to actually tell Porsha to watch you, and then to say that, like, basically, I know you guys been friends since high school is what Porsha's mother say, but she like, don't trust her. It's what Porsha's mother is saying. Shamea was saying is that Porsha was being very dismissive, but the part that Porsha, which I can say, okay, I can understand Porsha, is this is probably Porsha's normal behavior when dealing with Shamea. So Porsha is probably like, girl, wait a minute. This is the normal behavior, but I understand Shamea is calling it out. But I believe Porsha is probably like, girl, are you playing for these cameras? Because it seems like, and it seemed, I mean, this is even what a lot of people have said, and even people that were friends with both the ladies. It just seems like, Porsha just don't have it for Shamea as Shamea would have it for her. Because just in watching these two, I believe that Porsha really believes that Shamea is really trying her for the cameras. And again, I believe that Porsha feels this way because Shamea is like asking her to answer hard questions that she never had to answer before. So I can kind of understand where Porsha is like, girl, stop, stop, stop. Because in watching this, I'm just like, why does Porsha seem so uncomfortable? I mean, and just, to kind of give Porsha some credit, I mean, it would almost seem like Shamea is really coming for her because, girl, if this is what I do every single time we're together, if I don't pay you no attention, I don't come to your wedding, I never really act like I really care about anything that's going on in your life. And then you get on this platform and now it's a problem. You have to understand this is the magnitude of their relationship. And y'all, let's get into some of these comments because I thought the comment was this one comment was, it says, while Porsha may be flawed as we all, so again, and I'm trying to bring this home from Porsha's perspective, regardless to if Porsha did whatever she did to Shamea, okay? We're all humans. Shamea accepted that behavior from Porsha, right? So regardless to if Porsha was in the wrong, you accepted it. Y'all moved on. So think about, you move on from a situation with a friend and now it's coming back up. And now they're sitting down at the table and Shamea is calling out everything. Am I boring? Do you what did she say? She says, am I boring? You are dismissing me. And Shamea has very valid points. But the issue is, I don't believe their relationship was any different. So if this is how our relationship goes, and this is what Porsha does with Shamea, then it would make sense to not call out the behavior, or basically maybe it just seems forced because this is something that they had been doing, and this is the magnitude of their relationship. And it just seems like Shamea is tired of being called Porsha's whatever, doormat, whatever, dog, whatever. So it seems like Shamea is coming at Porsha so that she can seem more stronger. And I don't believe that Porsha is actually feeling it because it seems like Porsha does not want to bring this to the cameras. If you guys, follow Shamea, she did do an interview, and in her interview, she said that Porsha is very different on camera. So, Shamea brought some very valid points. She said that Porsha said that she would do certain things. Granted, she was paid to do these things, but it could be that Porsha is like, girl, I'm on this show to make my money, and that's about it, which that is what I get from Porsha, because even some of y'all that watch her YouTube channel, some of y'all say that YouTube channel is more entertaining. So if she's more entertaining on a YouTube channel and less entertaining on Real Housewives of Atlanta, which is actually the show that's paying her, not saying YouTube doesn't pay, but for YouTube to pay, you actually have to work. Whereas Real Housewives of Atlanta, they are signing these contracts and they gonna get paid regardless. So, is Porsha, is she really, I don't think she's taken very kindly to what, Shamea is saying. And I believe it's probably because from Porsha's experience, she probably feels like Shamea is doing this for the show. And I would kind of understand where Porsha is coming from, because Porsha has done the same thing. Porsha has done a lot of things for the show. So she understands, in order to, keep yourself in the blogs, in order to, maintain your popularity on these shows, people need to be talking about you, right? So I feel like Porsha's reaction is more of a blindsided reaction, because she like, girl, don't do this here. And what she's telling Shamea is, stop. You're trying to start stuff with me for the show, which to me is indicating that Porsha all the time give the real deal. As we see with Porsha, we see Porsha going through a divorce, and a lot of people would say she can't talk about her divorce. She can talk about her feelings. She can talk about her. We don't really see her doing much of that either. So the fact that what Porsha has said to Shamea, I can understand because Porsha is used to acting. I mean, she's used to giving whatever she needs to give to actually be on the show and not necessarily her real situation, as in what's actually going on in her life now. We don't really hear her say very much about her husband, or even about the marriage. Like we heard this episode, she mentioned that she reached out to Simon with regards to her daughter. Now, she done told that story twice. Nothing else. Now, if she couldn't talk about her marriage, then how did she mention that statement? She can talk about her marriage. She just probably can't mention his name, which is very different than being able to talk about your marriage, because nobody can stop you from talking about your marriage. Now, they can say, don't mention my name on the show, which that's really not a Simon thing, because if y'all paid attention to this particular episode, y'all saw Angela, and then you notice when she talked about her sister, it was blotted out, because these people have to agree either to be on the show or agree to allow you to talk about them. So I don't think it's such a big thing that she cannot talk about Simon. Porsha just doesn't like to talk about, really what's going on in her life. As you saw in, what Shamea said is Porsha said that the only way she could, act different is if they paid her more. So, in this sense, it seems like, is very much so about the money. It's about the check. And unfortunately, because it's about the check, a lot of times we don't really get the real. So there we go. What is going to happen between these two ladies with regards to the relationship? I know some of y'all has been in the chat saying, that it's fake, it's for the show. And sometimes they do create these fake things for the show, but these two, I don't believe it's for the show, because I knew about this, during the time that they were actually taping. So that's why I know it is definitely not for the show. It is real, but some of this stuff does look fake and manufactured, because you wonder, okay, Shamea, what happened? Like, what really happened to y'all? Because, if you really think about it, Porsha isn't really saying anything. She keeps blaming Shamea for saying what it was Shamea said, but she really never said what it was that Shamea actually said. And then Shamea is in turn saying the same thing about Porsha. So in all honesty, it does look a little crazy, because neither one of these ladies are actually saying anything specific with regards to what they're saying the other person said, other than you talk to the ladies about our relationship, or you. So it's kind of like, okay, what really happened? But what we're learning with these two is the ladies were just pretty much asking basic questions like why Porsha didn't come to your wedding, things like that. So pretty typical things that a lot of people has asked about these two, in their friendship, because people wanted to know, or have stated that Porsha never seemed to be a true authentic friend of Shamea. And Shamea is pretty much saying, girl, look, I wasn't the one that brought this up. She said pretty much the ladies brought it up and I was just responding. And if you guys paid attention, Shamea was responding, but unless I missed something, I don't remember her actually, talking about Porsha. It seemed like what she was telling the ladies, or, from my perspective, that she was answering the questions correctly, but then she also said we worked through it. So I'm missing the point, or the part where she actually, is trying to play the victim. Is what I'm getting from Porsha, because it seemed like Porsha is saying, Shamea is definitely, playing that victim role. And like I said, I don't get that, but I can see why Porsha would definitely, be blindsided in this situation and kind of not understand where everything is coming from all of a sudden? I mean, we're friends, we're filming together, and now you suddenly want to ask me all these questions about our relationship, how I am suddenly so dismissive to you when this is probably just who Porsha is. And I kind of believe that is who she is, just how she responded. And even in the restaurant, it seemed like she got very angry to the point that she had to go to the bathroom, if you guys were paying attention. So she had to go to the bathroom to calm herself down. And, you know, just watching the show, I just didn't understand why that was necessary. Obviously, girl, if you need to calm yourself down, you know, remove yourself from the situation. But I didn't understand why it had got so heated in Porsha's mind to the, you know, the fact that she needed to remove herself from the situation. So y'all got to let me know what y'all think with regards to you know, these two in the relationship. Do y'all feel like, you know, they're gonna get back together? Do y'all feel like it's over between these two? But just tell me what you think. But I want to show this last piece before we end, and this is the part where, you know, Porsha eventually gets up and she kind of walks away from the table because, like I said, she just couldn't take it no more. And that was a little crazy. Like I said, she couldn't take it, gets up from the table, walks out. Shamea, please stop. You know, but then she did come back. So she did return back to the table. You know, she returned back to the table. And let's just get into a little bit of that because it was really awkward. And again, I guess people got to do what they have to do, especially Porsha, you know, especially with her past, you know, putting her hands on people. But she felt like she needed to get up from the table. And I was like, girl, what are you, you know? And that's pretty much how it went. Porsha got up, came back. You know, the girl ain't gonna, you know, she ain't gonna leave the food. You know, she loves to eat, honey. So take the food. And it almost seemed like they left and they really didn't have a resolve. Porsha apologized, but the issue with apologizing, you got to know what you're apologizing for. You know what I mean? So I kind of felt like Porsha was apologizing, but it was more so to get out of that scene, move over to, you know, whatever was next, because to apologize. But to me, it kind of seemed like Porsha didn't know what the hell she was apologizing for, but felt like, you know, she was being blindsided by Shamea just for the show. So I don't feel like nothing happened between these two. I don't feel like they resolved anything. And again, I'll mention this. I feel like, you know, Porsha, she's just not a good communicator. Like, I know people that actually know her. And what I've been told is Porsha don't even really go nowhere. So it's really difficult for a person who doesn't really go anywhere, don't communicate with people, maybe just sit around her daughter all day. I don't think Porsha has the communication skills. I don't think she has that, nor the capacity to actually communicate to resolve anything. If y'all remember in, you know, past seasons, and I'm not trying to bring up the past, but Porsha resorted to violence, and that's just what she's did on a multiple occasions. Now, in this situation, you saw her get up and leave, which was creepy because it seemed like that was her restraint. Let me just get up and leave. I had this, you know, it seemed like she removed herself from the situation before she got really, really angry. That's just what I saw. But y'all got to let me know what y'all think.
She don't miss nothing, got the scoop on lock. Spilling all the tea while it's still too hot. Lakeysha Keysha, queen of the